The other problem is
Hi. So we're broadcasting from Savannah today, and we'll be talking about post finances. Everyone's coming in and out, so just give us a minute. It's a little loud here. Hi. I do. That was mine. It's my personal. I am. Where are you from? Oh, lovely. I'm from Charlottesville. What was that?
I went there to check that. You pay bills, but I went there. My husband to get back home and after I get further and get the gas
this guy standing in the one guy in it. It took 5 years to get the money out of that guy. He's probably half dead. And when he dies, nobody knows where the money went. They're supposed to.
Okay. Do you mind asking Julia, who's at the check-in table?
You know, we do that in our post just because the guys are getting old. And the last guy's standing at least one man.
Hey guys, make a decision, join the meeting, or?
What time does this 10 o'clock meeting start?
I think it starts at 10:03. We're doing financials, so take a seat or exit. Yes. Yes. And the internet is watching you all do nothing right now.
Promise or threat?
We're doing something. We're watching the internet.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're going to get a screen in here in a minute so I can actually show you stuff on a screen, because we're supposed to have one, but hey, we make do.
Don't I have to sign a release to be on the internet?
Don't you worry, I'll turn the screen away and just look at me.
You have to sign a release for the damage you're going to cause.
That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a seat. So I was going to free flow unless you want me to speak on one topic over the other. We're going to cover the Finance Board report. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can, and then all the ones I can't go to Mr. Zoldan. Joe Zoldan's the chair. And the answers I'm giving are based on the conversations I have with Joe. So if I don't know, then Joe's the guy.
Would you mind introducing yourself for those
Yes.
who do not know you and should probably?
Sure. So I'm Cindy Chambers. I'm the membership director, and you all know me because I send a lot of emails. And if you're not getting emails from me, please give me your email address. And I am the staff person that helps the Finance Board Committee. So that's why I'm the one that hassles you about turning in your taxes for the post or the department or the council and the Finance Board report. This is a little maybe dry, but it's what we got to do. The IRS makes sure that we are following the rules because it's the only way that we get our tax exempt status. So that's why we hassle to make sure everyone's following the rules. We're showing the government that we spend our money appropriately, that sort of thing. So you can call me Cindy, by the way. I know many of your names. AJ, I haven't met you in person. Hello.
I'm AJ.
AJ is the commander of the post right here in Savannah. All right, so I have this online because I have helped many posts file their taxes this year. So I was hoping to stream this in case other folks want to ask questions. So please don't mind me. I'm going to have John is my assistant. A lot of you have spoken with John on the phone. He's going to text me when people give us questions. So, do you all want to start talking about the Finance Board report, or do you want to start talking about the taxes? Your choice.
Why would we make a choice?
What do you have more questions about? Completing that finance board report or completing the taxes? All right, so let's.
We thought we'd get to sleep through this.
I'll step forward and say, completing the financial report.
Okay, so completing the finance report. The finance report is the one with the big logo on it. If you grabbed a handout when you came in, does anyone still need one?
I'll get it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
All right. Helene's over here too.
I'll do it.
It locks, so let's not. Okay.
Tell them to use the other door.
All right. So the finance board report. What is this all about? Why do you got to do it? This was conceived because we don't. National headquarters isn't at your meetings. I don't know your bank accounts. I don't know everything about your community. But we are required to report that all of our entities, all of the echelons are above board and they're following financial rules. So we created this report simply to show what you're doing out there. What are you raising money for and how are you spending the money? So that's all this report really is in nice little chart forms, page by page. It's really just asking, what did you spend money on this year? How did you make money this year? Did you make any donations? That's basically the whole point. I take every report you give me, I log it in our digital database, and then I send it to Mr. Zolden, and we go back and forth and make sure people have, if he needs contact information, I don't know, maybe some of you all have been contacted by Joe. Every so often I hear, I got a letter. They want to know what I donated to. So I don't know all those questions. That's what the committee decides, but I make sure that all of what you report goes to him. So what on here, we can go page by page, and if you just have questions about it, does that work? Okay. So if you're looking at this one with the logo, for everyone that's watching online, these are downloadable forms. You go to jwv.org/membership, and under the membership area, there's a forms and resources, and that's where all of the forms are located to download. It's a fillable PDF, so you can actually download this, save it to your computer, type into the form, save that file, and then email it back to me. So you don't actually have to mail as much. The only issue is that you would need to make sure you also included your bank statement, so you have to be able to scan those and email them too.
Every bank statement?
It has to be the most, preferably, like the last bank statement from your fiscal year. So if your fiscal year ended in December, for example, you would just send a December bank statement. If you're like, no, but I have one from this month, fine, just send that one. Yes, Johnny.
And if that's what they really are asking for, the last statement of the fiscal year, would you ask the committee to change the wording?
Yes.
Because that's not how they word it.
Yes. All right.
And therefore, that's probably not what they're getting.
Right. I will say I do get a variety. I think more than anything, they want to make sure you have a checking account, that you're putting the post money into a valid checking account. That's what most of that is. Just every so often I talk to someone that says, no, we don't have a bank account, but you're a full entity, like recognized by the government, so you got to have a bank account.
How are they cashing the checks if they don't have a bank account?
Right. So the best I know is I guess I don't want to know. Actually, I don't want to know.
Cindy, just a real basic question. Is there a preferred fiscal year beginning date?
That's a great question. I'm going to just circle this so I have Johnny's. So,
Cindy, there is a stated fiscal
Johnny,
year
let me do
in
this.
the Constitution.
okay. So the fiscal year for JWV National is July 1 to June 30. However, I know that a lot of echelons have different fiscal years. Why is this okay? Well, I don't know about y'all, but we got a lot of members who live in two places. They go to New York part of the time, they go to Florida part of the time. So some of them, their posts are only active from, let's say, October to April every year. So their fiscal year might not begin till October. And that seems reasonable because that's not, that's when the post is in session. A lot of that also occurs because of when you applied for your EIN from the IRS. The EIN is like your social security number. It's called an employer identification number. It's the same concept. As an individual, you have a social security number. As a post, you have an EIN. It's just a number that the federal government uses to identify your post or your department council. So if you applied for that and you got it in, let's say, September, then I guess your fiscal year might be September 1 to August 30th. When you complete the report, you actually write on there what your reporting period is. This is, we're on page 4 of the report. So you just need to report to the committee what your fiscal year is. That way they just understand your books. Okay? In national, I'll tell you that all of our reporting and what we give the government is always July 1 to June 30. Any more questions on that one? Okay. So then we're on page 4. This is where you would report what accounts you have. And you need to be honest. So if your post bought a CD like 20 years ago, that needs to be on here if it's waiting to mature or whatever. A lot of posts have different assets. Maybe you have a savings account. I don't know. I say post, but do know it's every echelon. So councils need to file. And departments need to file.
Even though they don't vote.
Councils are, well,
They have no vote.
so I'm not going to get into the place of councils. It's your organization, but councils are supposed to be an in-between power to help posts organize on a regional level. So as it stands, we have 28, I believe, active councils, and they do, I want to say out of the 28, I want to say 20 of them do take a portion of the dues amount. Maybe it's 50 cents a member. So they do get that, and maybe they do fundraising. I don't know your council. I believe you're right.
That's scary.
So, that means there is some amount of money coming in, and so you got to complete it. Questions about that one? Okay, so we'll move to page 5. It's just more places. It has, does the echelon own a safe deposit box? I don't know anything about that. It's just been on the report for 30 years, so yes or no?
That's what one is.
Page 6. This is your assets. Some people do own things. I mean, like councils, departments might own a building. Maybe they, I don't know, own a van that they use to pick up members. This is where you report any of that. And then the income. Okay. I am suggesting to the committee that we reform this chart, but as it stands, I will explain it. The dues are a part of your income if you choose to take a portion of the dues. Remember that it's up to your echelon to choose. And so you would say, out of the members that actually pay dues, how many paid and what did you get out of that? Let's say that you get $5 a member and 10 of them paid, you made $50 this year. So let's answer, I'll go ahead and answer questions on that one. Go ahead. Jules, you had your hand up. Okay, all right.
I had a question, but
yes.
I don't know if it applies to this page or the previous, but what is the ramifications of not reporting an asset such as a CD?
Okay. I will just tell you based on the information I've been given. There have been a couple of incidents in the past where echelons have not reported some of the funding that they had or the money they saved or what have you.
Oh my God.
And maybe they spent it in a way that wasn't on veterans. And then that got back to national, and then we have to figure out what do we got to do. Do we need to make a comment? Do we need to do an investigation? I don't know. We're supposed to be legitimate to the IRS. So you're supposed to let them know just so they know. And Joe will ask me. He'll say, hey, I noticed that this one post 2 years ago had this savings account with $8,000 on it, and then they didn't report it. Like, what happened to that $8,000? I will say most of the time the answer is they gave it to Fisher's House. They donated to the museum. But they want to make sure that it was above board. I mean, there have been incidents where they've just given it all back to members, apparently. I don't know. But you're supposed to report back. What's the ultimate consequence? You'll get investigated. Maybe your post gets disbanded. Maybe they have done lawsuits, actual lawsuits with people. Norman, our chairman, told me last night, I think it was about 15 years ago, they took a post to court because they donated $75,000 to their shul, and then didn't report it at first, and they went back and forth, and eventually the money was recaptured. So that's what I know about that. Any other questions on making sure you report all assets? Yes.
Okay, Cindy, there is a little bit of an accounting uncertainty here where it says income on the black line, the second black line. You really ought to say net income because there are expenses involved, and are those to be, is this the original income that was taken in without regard for the expenses used to get it?
You're right. It's net because the page 7 is the expenses. So I'll say
Well, Cindy, it should be gross income.
it's gross income because we haven't taken out the. You're right. It's gross.
So that's the gross.
Yes, sir.
And then we have the expenses, which will then yield the
net income.
somewhere.
Right. Although they don't ask for net income, but I guess it's kind of obviously if you raised this much and you spent this much.
Okay.
Yep. If you go through there, again, there haven't been updates on this in a while. You'll notice it'll say raffles, poppy drives, if you made money off of bingo games, cash gifts, which I guess is different. They do take out bequests, so if you got a bequest, you specifically would fill in that section. A cash gift of just someone thought you all did good work and gave you $100, that's where you would have put that. Other programs is really capturing all the things. So if you don't know where to put it under other programs and specify what the program was. Maybe every year you hold a Seder and people like to contribute afterward. That's not listed. This is where you would list that. Miscellaneous fundraising, and this is, we all know people sell poppies, but maybe your post, like the Department of Connecticut sells ties. Not everybody sells ties, neckties, So that's where you might put miscellaneous fundraising. Convention income, this is regarding if your department or council holds a convention and maybe they tack on an extra part of the fee to raise money. This is where you would get that income. And then you total it up. And actually the fillable PDF will total it for you. Questions about other forms of income? Okay. Insurance policies, I hear you. I've heard you all year. I will ask the chair about this. The Fidelity bond you buy through us, so we already know that. The coverage through the liability, you have the option of buying through us, or you buy it through another insurance company. So that one will probably stay on here. I will ask him about changing the way it's worded. So if you bought it through us, you don't have to show us the certificate. That's silly. We already know you bought it. But if you bought it through your own choice of insurance carrier, you will need to show a certificate of it. Any questions about the difference between the Fidelity bond and liability, or are we all clear on insurances? Because Christy's here. Okay.
But I'm not sure how to get your signal from the computer.
Okay, I guess we'll figure it out. Insurance, just in case our people viewing, the Fidelity bond protects the Treasury, so any of the money you have, and so that is a requirement of the Constitution and bylaws. Everybody needs to protect the Treasury. And then the liability is something for when you hold events, you need to be able to cover in case there's any surprises, and this is really important. If you hold big picnics, if you sell poppies in front of a grocery store, things might happen, so you need liability insurance. All right, so we'll go to page 7. Those are the expenses. Again, I will ask that this section be reformed, but for now, it's saying the
other needs to be increased.
Other under, I'm sorry, where am I looking?
Expenses.
Got one line for other.
Okay, so more space.
That's ridiculous.
No, you do an attachment.
More space here, and then reform the reporting.
Cindy, this is picky, but I've asked them to change it before where they say commander's allocation.
Right, the commander allocation, yes.
One will budget that way, but when one expends the money, you don't expend it that way. You expend it for certain items, especially if a commander makes $1,000 donation to a synagogue, you should not be able to list it as a commander's discretionary money.
I have questions about that. I assumed it was that most echelons actually set a budget
Yes, you
for.
budget,
But
but
that's
when
it,
you,
budget
when
item.
you.
Right,
spend-
so at the end of the year, whatever let's say they were budgeted 500, they spent 300, wouldn't you only report that you
No,
spent
you
300?
Goes up as an expense.
When you spend the 300, where did you spend it?
Oh, so you're
Did you
saying the
spend
lack
it
of
on-
specificity.
Yes, it should not be
Okay.
an expense item.
You're gonna have 3 pages of nonsense that way.
No,
Yes, you will.
why? It's either other or it's an actual expense.
Okay.
It falls under the other.
He took a taxi here, and he took a
No,
taxi.
no.
What are you gonna call it?
I follow you. So perhaps under here we just have a short listing area to say this was spent on travel expenses or buying items for the meeting or whatever it was that the commander did. You're saying?
No, I think commander's allocation.
It's
says it all.
sufficient.
Hi, Lou.
It's just, to me, it
Yeah.
is what was spent on the commander, whatever it be.
Jason had his hand up. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any donations to synagogues other than paying for rental space.
Okay, that is another
And
debate. I
the
follow
IRS
you.
code is very clear about this.
Right. Right.
So it's only supposed to be giving to veterans' activities, not the synagogue. You have to pay for rent, that's one thing.
Right.
But giving them $1,000 donation is technically illegal.
All right, so we'll get into yes, we'll get into donations in a moment. That's everyone's favorite subject. Under echelon expenses, I will say yes, the department and county per capita is silly. I don't know why we make you do this because we take that out for you. Like that's part of my computer program. I already dispense money to the council, to the department, and to the post. So it's a kind of a weird thing to keep on here.
At one time, in before they had the computers,
Right.
the posts, the duels went to the post, and we
Gave
sent
each
in
one.
the, per capita for the department and the county. Now, we send in everything, and they
And
send
we dispense
to
it
the
back
post.
out. Right.
So this thing is duplicate, and we don't need it.
Can we just take a vote? How many people think that this should remain a part of the echelon
It has
expenses?
to remain because new
I just want to take a vote, Johnny.
Let me explain. New members pay to the post a lot of times. They make the check out that way. Some of our old members still make the check out to the post, so the post is receiving the money, turns around and writes a check back to National. So there's income and a corresponding expense. So we need to be able to show.
I will say that this portion right here is about department and county per capita.
Right.
So even if your post collects dues, right, and then you send me a check, right, you say, hey, I got 10 members here, they each paid $50, here's a $500 check. When I put that in the bank and then I put it in the database, I automatically pull out the $5 due to Department of New York and the council and then give you back your portion. So
It's already in.
I already know what you're not doing that allocation, or you shouldn't be doing that allocation yourself.
It's a wash. The money goes to the post sends a check. 90% of the time, the post will mail that check to National.
Right.
And
It's
the other
made out of-
10%, what are you doing?
You're not being made out to the post.
It's not made out to the
Sorry, they make
post,
it-
it's
I'm
made
sorry,
out to
they make
National.
All right, guys,
It
calm.
should be made out
Let's
to
calm.
the
Let's
last
calm.
made out to the post.
I'll comment on that for a moment. I know that historically the posts were the ones that collected. And it makes sense. You want to make sure all your members are up to date. Maybe the best way to do that is hassle them in person. Tell everyone to may pay their dues, right? But you know, because you received a bill recently, not a bill, an invoice, 2 or 3 weeks
With a
ago
membership card.
with a new member card, and it had the amount due, and that envelope goes to the P.O. box that goes for National's Bank, okay? All right? So the idea is that every member out there is going to use that envelope to send their dues in. We're going to get the data from the bank, we put it into our database, we upload who's been paying, we cut the checks out, we send out refunds. That's the process, more or less. I know that it's
Per capita checks.
kind of annoying because sometimes you don't get a check for a while, but this time of year you get checks every month or so because a lot of people are paying their dues. So that's how it's supposed to work. Now, I know that some of you all take the money in, you only send me $35 a member. The way I'm told it's supposed to work is that you send the whole amount in, and then we cut it out to the entities.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about expenses here. If we're talking about the post collecting dues, on the previous page, you need to put a line saying dues collected, and then on this page, you can take those two lines and put them back together and say dues rebated to national. And the two numbers should be even.
They should be. That's a way to do it. All right.
And the two numbers.
That's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time.
It depends on, I'll ask the committee what they think. I mean, we have moved to a model where national takes in the money and then gives it out. So I don't know why you would have to do all that math.
So let me explain why you need to do that. If
I'm gonna table this because I want to get through to. No, Johnny, we're gonna move on because I gotta get to the taxes.
We also in New Jersey.
So we're moving on. Now, monies owed to vendors. Are any of the people that you vend with? Those are expenses. National convention, if you all send in money for that, buying the insurance. I feel like expenses are pretty straightforward. Is there anything that's missing from the expense line or that you all have questions on?
Just the others should be the larger.
Okay. Yeah, Jason.
It would be a smart move considering everybody's age in this organization to have at least one trustee on a bank, at least 2 to 4 trustees on a bank account, including one of the trustees should be a national officer like the executive director. Because what happens in a lot of cases, the posts die off, there's money in the account, eventually the money ain't collected, it ends up in the state of New York, it takes 5 years to get it back from the state of New York. If there's a national officer as a trustee on the account, then that money will go to national headquarters.
It's up to the county.
Whatever's out there will go to national.
I'll.
It's a smart move to have at least one national trustee on the post.
All right. Calm down, guys. All right, so I will give Jason's suggestion to the committee. I will speak to this for a moment. You need to have a minimum of 2 people on your account. That should be generally the commander and the quartermaster. The quartermaster's the one putting the money in generally, right? He's not wrong. There needs to be a minimum of 2, but maybe think about 3.
It's up to the council to watch the posts if they're floundering, to take care of it, not to have a national officer sign on the check.
There are a lot of posts
all right.
affiliated.
Calm down. All right, so we're talking about maybe other echelon officers. Got it. But I just want to point out that you need to have at least a few people because what he's speaking to is not wrong. I helped a Michigan post this year go through a process of getting funds from a post where all the members had passed away, and there was $3,000 that the state of Michigan took because no one owned a bank account anymore. It's a process, so you really need to have, and you need to check on it every couple of years. Do we need to change people?
But there's a problem with that. I think some of the banks are going to, they don't want to deal with 4 people on an account. They only want 1 or 2. Some of the banks have been saying that they will not take 2 sick.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll put that down as a concern to research. I mean, the committee has to do this. This is a committee issue.
When you bring...
Let's all calm down a second. I'm going to call on David.
When you put an echelon officer on a post bank statement,
yes, sir,
that echelon officer becomes a liability. He has a liability, and he has no control.
That's certainly, yes, you're right.
And I will not be a liability on a post that I don't know what the hell they're doing.
So David brings up a good point. with some language, because that's why when we get over to talking about the taxes, why I spend so much time trying to teach others how to file it, because I'm not supposed to file your taxes, because I don't know what your post does. Just like what David was saying, I'm not there. I don't have your books. You know your books. So that's why we rely on you to file for your EIN, not us at National.
Can we vote on you doing it?
Only if every year everyone comes to DC and we sit down and look at all the...
Cindy,
Art, is this about expenses?
apropos to what we're talking about.
Sure.
I went to a bank, it's called New York Community Banks, but in Florida it's called AmTrust, and we told them we wanted 2 signatures on the account. You know what the platform officer said to me?
What was that?
We only require 1, and she refused to authorize a spot on the check to put the 2 signatures, and she insisted on duplicate checks
Change bank.
because she wanted it.
Change bank.
So what I'll also do is maybe suggest to the committee that they actually review a few banks that our members generally use our posts that are trusted.
We can get 3 accounts.
That is not a bad idea.
Because there are banks, because most of the banks now say, you're a small account, we want $15, $20 a month.
Right,
Change bank.
right. I hate seeing that.
Well, we get 3 accounts. Yo!
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of discussion going on. Does anyone want to raise their hand and ask a question about this, or are we starting to debate other new things? Yes, yes.
I'll make a comment. The state of Maryland will allow more than 1 signature on a check, but only requires 1 signature on a check.
So allow versus require. Okay.
Yes, so,
That has
we
nothing to do
do
with
too.
trustees. You know,
We do 2 signatures on checks, but if we make a mistake, the check would still go through.
I apologize, I don't know your name.
Steve?
Steve Mentz, hey! I only know you via email, hello. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move from expenses into donations and just put myself in that fire. So, donations. In a nutshell, you're supposed to be donating to veteran causes that will benefit veterans. I have gone back and forth with the chair to get more specificity. The best I can explain this is not a gift to veterans. So a gift might be that you want to buy someone a car just because you think it's wonderful. They came back from Iraq and I want to give them a car. Okay. Did they need the car? Were they struggling to find a job or take their kids to school? If it was a need, that's great. But if this is just a really nice thing you want to do for them, that's not considered a fair game donation. Because what ultimately we're supposed to be doing is giving money to veteran causes that help veterans, whether that's making sure they get to the pharmacy to get the meds they need, whether that means you're ensuring that their family members are cared for if it's a Gold Star family. It needs to be a benefit to the veteran, okay? And I know that's a fine line, but honor flights don't count. I've asked multiple times. Honor flights are lovely. They're wonderful. They give people a chance to go see the memorials for the wars in which they served, and that is a lovely gesture. But this is supposed to be that you're spending the money on service for veterans, making sure the clinic gets built that is desperately in need in that city. You know, that's definitely a spend on the veteran, okay? And that was one, I don't know, you should get involved with the committee and find out how to reform this rule, but that's the best I understand it. So, yes, Alan.
We buy stuff the hospital needs that the government don't provide to a VA hospital.
Great.
Is that a gift or is that a donation?
Okay, so in my understanding, that's like a donation because you're making sure that the veterans are provided for, unless what you're giving them is something they just don't really need. You're just being very sweet, you know?
No, it's stuff they need.
It's stuff they need, right. So I think you can differentiate, and if you can't, if you're not really sure, the way the process is supposed to work is you send a letter to the committee before you spend the money, and the committee gives you the answer. I rarely get a letter ahead of time. So I'm the one that gets the letter, and then I give it to Joe. I must have gotten one letter my first year of working here, and I don't think I got any letters last year. But I did get people ask me questions after they spent their money. And hey, your choice, but the committee might tell you after you've spent your money that now you need to make a matching donation, because that's what we're really talking about, the matching fund. So if you donate outside of the veteran cause, or you don't, give to a national program or to the museum, and you just want to give $200 to a scholarship fund that's not related to veterans, but you'd like to do it for your community, then you need to give equal $200 to the JWV building fund. That's the rule. So this question first, Al.
Yeah, is it possible that a list of approved organizations can be made available to the echelons?
I think it's possible.
Because I have constantly been rated by people, by the echelons in our department, and
yes.
I don't know if they
So
can
I've asked many times, and word on the street is that the chairman is going to make sure that happens this year. So we just need more clarity. I agree with you. Yes.
What can happen if we...
We're raising hands, Helene, and I saw David first. Yes.
What
David.
about West Point Chapel
Stop
Fund?
talking.
West Point Chapel Fund.
Is that to build a chapel at West Point or to maintain the chapel at West Point?
I don't think Siobhan.
Okay, I will ask. I honestly don't know, because that is an interesting. I would think because it helps. It's part of the chaplaincy.
It goes for the cadets. The
Right.
Cadets.
Right. I would think so,
Cindy,
but I would need to ask the chairman. So I'm gonna write a note real quick. Hold on. I had a question in the back, and I didn't see it first before Johnny was there. Was your question answered on this side? Okay, go ahead, Johnny.
Expand that to the Navy Academy and also the Air Force Academy, because we were told before, for some reason, that the Army Academy was okay, but the other two were not.
Okay.
So it's very confusing why they would differentiate service by service.
I will ask the question about generally giving to chaplaincy funds. Okay, Helene.
Once they do the list, they should put underneath, if your charity is not there, please contact the office to get it approved.
Yes, and that I believe that's actually in the all right. I will make sure that it's posted. But yes, it goes. Your questions would either go to jwv@jwv.org, or you can mail them to national headquarters. I just give them all to Joe. Well, the chair, who's Joe right now. Yes.
Okay, Cindy, question about matching contributions. Do matching contributions have to be made after the payment of an unqualified gift, or can a post put in, say, $1,000 before the year begins and say we want to have freedom to give out $1,000 during the year for anything we want?
Oh, can't speak for the committee, but I'm gonna maybe guess the answer will be no. And the only reason is because the whole point of it is to make sure you're spending your money on veteran causes. So if now you're telling me, oh well, I kind of want to throw a really great party for my niece, I just need they need to know what you're doing. Most of the time, it's that you spent money on a nonprofit or a congregation or school in your community that wasn't veteran specific. That's what I find is usually what you end up having to do matching funds for. But I think the rule is there so that people don't make blanket contribute to whoever you want. We're a veteran service organization. Just be focusing on the veteran is the idea. Yes, Jason?
There is an IRS book on veterans organizations put out by the IRS. It's, I don't know, 50, 100 pages, whatever it is. It's very specific, what you can and cannot do as a veterans organization. It's different from all the other charitable organizations.
That's correct.
Period. If you're giving money to the U.S. military or to a chapel, it's going to what they call a post-fund account. And it should be made out to the post-fund account, which is a U.S. government account. then it's a true donation. If you're giving it to a nonprofit at a chapel, that's a separate group of people who support the chapel or the chapel foundation or whatever. It may not necessarily, it may require matching funds, but if you're giving money, for example, to the VA, it goes to the VABS. That's a post-government account.
Yes.
Paid out to the Department of Veterans Affairs, post count number XXXX, whatever it is. That's a legitimate donation. But if you get that IRS book, it tells you what you're allowed to do and not to do. Because if you read the Constitution and bylaws, everybody here will agree, it's pretty convoluted. Nobody knows what the hell they can do.
Okay, guys, if you look at page 2 of the Finance Board report, I did quote from the Constitution about the donation, the matching funds rule. It's page 2. And they do list already, you know, you can donate to VA medical centers. You could donate to the museum.
Yeah, that's a post-government account, though.
Right. I just wanted you to know there are a few items. They also, you could donate to national JWV programs. You could donate to the department. You could donate to if the NEC was running a special program that year. You know, those sorts of things. There's no requirement for a matching fund. This is just the most basic general list they've created thus far. So in regards to Jason saying, yes, I mean, give to a VA program then. You know, I mean, that's a safe bet. You know it's going to be spent on veterans. Yes, Sid. Yes.
Okay. Let's say we have in this in Brooklyn, most of the posts at one time used to run Passover. Now basically we're down to one post. It's running Passover. You make a donation post to post on Passover.
I would think because it says to other JWV echelons. Oh, it says higher echelons. I'll ask the chairman. It seems fair because it's almost like you're working as a council because you're. Yeah. I mean, it's a group of posts working on one program. Let me ask about the specificity, but okay.
It should be made out to the council, and the council should be.
Yeah, well, now the council has an answer to it.
You have a lock on there.
For all posts. Okay, and then Steve, did you still have a question?
Yeah, just to be real nitpicky, the National Museum of American Jewish Military History is not abbreviated NMI anymore.
Okay. And then below here, when it says you list the donations, this is where you would say, yep, we gave to the $500 for a kid to go to school fee that wasn't veteran. Because, you know, I'm not making this isn't judgments. I just mean maybe in your community, this is how you're also known as JWV Supports Education. So maybe you did give to a scholarship for a local kid, but it's not veteran-based, and your name is on it, so you get your name in the paper. Not so bad. But it's not veteran-related, so you do have to make the matching funds. This is where you report
It's a marketing expense.
Right, and you just support education, because that's part of the mission of JWV. So this is where you would report that. And the idea is that you actually give the matching fund throughout the year. I believe most of the time we get them now, when people turn in their finance board report. But the idea is that you would give it then. And then you and the other person that helped with this sign off. Most quartermasters do it, but maybe you have someone in your post that's a CPA that does it. Either way, it's usually the commander and then whomever completed the finances signs off on this. You're going to send the completed report along with a scanned copy of your Echelon's bank statement, the one in the last month of your fiscal year. Along with a copy of your post-liability certificate if you didn't buy it from us. And then any other items in your finances that you think they're going to ask about. You would bundle all that up. You could scan it all and give it to me or mail it to us. Right now it says we need certified mail. Honestly, that's probably more for you than me, so you know it got to me. But I will say recently we've been having issues where someone sent something certified. It took a month to get to us, so I don't know what's wrong with the post office, but that's happened. Yes, Jerry.
Might be silly. Can a post or department donate to the auxiliary?
Yes, I believe that. Hold on.
No, it's not listed.
That's not a higher echelon.
It's not. Veterans auxiliary do not have to do that.
You're right. I will ask. Right now, it just lists the museum, the memorial fund, the foundation, but it does not list the ladies. I'll ask. I'll put it on the.
Question.
After Jerry, Jules, David, Johnny. Oh, Mike. All right, Jules.
We interchange money with our auxiliary. A lot of times we will pick up an expense and they will give us half of it.
Yeah.
They pick up an expense, we give them half of it.
Okay.
How do we handle that?
Yeah, that's basically what
It's internal.
Okay, so in the end, does it shake out? You're just sharing the expenses?
Yes.
Just your share.
I would think you could just, you would report, let's say you threw an event and it cost $200, you both spent $100.
Right.
You would just report the $100 aspect.
Right.
So then in the end, you wouldn't.
And that's giving it to the auxiliary.
You have to report it also.
So therefore,
But are you giving them the funds, or are you saying that you're doing what are you doing together?
We'll have a luncheon for vets. We bring a busload of vets down to a local restaurant, okay?
Okay.
$200, right?
So you're really
After
spending.
we pay the $200, they give us $100 back as their contribution to what we did with the vets.
Okay, may I throw out there? I think it's that you're spending the money on the veterans.
Yeah, right.
And then they are making a donation to you.
Okay. Well, now, let's take another situation. I'm, as the quartermaster, supposed to pay that bill. I could not get that one. My auxiliary picked up the charge of the bill, and the post reimbursed the auxiliary for half.
But that's your expense.
It's our expense.
Yeah.
Right.
I will ask, but it definitely sounds like, maybe I'm crazy here, but it kind of sounds like it's like when two friends like share, one of them gets dinner tonight and the other gets dinner tomorrow, but it's all the same.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Are you?
But is the auxiliary?
If you're spending the money on veterans.
It's going to the veterans.
Going to veterans, but the checks are actually made out too.
Okay. I will ask, because if this is not an isolated case, you're saying a lot of you work with your ladies in this way. Okay.
There's a line in here that says normal functions of the echelon. To me, that falls under normal functions of the echelon.
Okay. All right. I'll ask the committee to make sure if that's where it should go or if it. Okay. Mike.
I think there's the major problem with filling out this form is that at each monthly meeting or other gathering of the echelon, we don't have another form that details the financial events of that day, that we can then add up at the end of the year into that form.
So you're saying, so I thought everyone kept their books the way they like to keep their books.
Right.
But you're saying that possibly it would be better if there was maybe just a template
daily form
for you to fill in, so at the end of the year it just added up totals?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And otherwise, it's memory and the checkbook, and that's all you have.
Unless you're a council and you have a budget.
And then was it Lou and David, or David?
Yes. Going back to the auxiliary and the posts. In Yiddish or Hebrew, it's called Shalom Bayis, which means peace in the family. Be very careful that you don't create something between the auxiliaries and the posts.
Right.
That will come back to bite you.
Sure.
I mean, getting the auxiliary and the post to work together takes somebody for the auxiliary and somebody for the post to agree, let's keep peace in the family.
Okay.
But it can work. Let's not try to disturb that.
I hear what you're saying. Okay. Yes, and then Johnny, and then Jay. Is that who was? Yes.
Cindy, back on the liability insurance, when our post goes outside for liability insurance, National Financial Committee gets a copy of that certificate immediately. So why do we have to submit another one at the end of the year with the financial report?
To whom do you give that? You give it to Christie
Well,
on staff, so that, because she's the one that, basically we gather and we give it out to the chairman.
when we take out the policy, National has to be included.
Okay,
And then, so the insurance company
okay,
sending it directly to National.
okay, I will ask,
So it's like duplication.
okay, I'll ask, because
We
that,
haven't got no certificates either.
I guess the question is also, I find not every post is doing it, so that, I guess the bigger question is, did you complete it? More like a checklist, like, did you buy this? And then we can ask the insurance committee, who actually gets it, what the list is. I've got Jay, and then Carl, and then we're good with this.
That post liability form, going back to the post, is important, because a lot of guys fundraise at shopping centers.
Right.
The shopping centers want a copy.
Yes.
Of the liability policy.
Yes.
Up at least to $2 million.
This isn't the insurance meeting,
understandable.
but if you want to talk insurance, please get with it. Right now, Steve Zeitz is the chair. Christy is the staff contact, so you can chat with them about that. Just know that at the moment it's set up that we send out the bills towards the end of the year, beginning of the new year, so December, January, for liability. Carl.
Briefly, another view of how we work with the ladies auxiliary, we'll have a joint function such as our convention and so forth.
Right.
The profits, so to speak, from that get shared between
So
the two orgs. So it's not really a donation. You know, when you do the ad, the ads and the
Okay.
tax, you end up with so much overage, and you give a portion of it to the ladies auxiliary because they contributed to the work.
All right, guys. Guys,
50-50.
before we close, I never discussed the 990, which is the thing that I get questions about so very much. So if you still are struggling with this guy, which it's a pain, but it's only a pain to set it up, I promise. Once you complete the profile, it's not hard to file the taxes. And so I created this how-to guide, but it's for starting out. Once you've done this, which if everyone here has filed their taxes, this coming year, the only thing you're going to go in is do a new filing, answer those 3 questions. Did you go out of business? Did you make less than $50,000? Are you still this entity of JWV? Yes. Okay. You'll be done.
Cindy.
Quick comment on that.
Yes, Jerry.
We gave it to a 12-year-old and said, do it, and he had it done in 10 minutes.
So,
We were at it for 3 days, we did it in 10 minutes.
Cindy, you know what the problem was last year? 2 of our posts merged, and when we had to go in to get the new 990, the IRS knocked it back because of we had to get a new 990 number, ITIN, and the IRS wasn't recognizing the new one and before March 15th, and then there was a problem.
Okay, so what Art is talking about, if you lost your EIN and you got to
Yes, we're trying to listen to this.
if you lost the EIN because you haven't filed for more than 3 years, or you're getting a new one, or there was a merger and you were required to get a new one, those did not go into the database in a smooth way because the IRS switched systems this year. I believe next year it should all exist properly. And I've noticed since I've helped posts, I've helped at least 15 posts file their taxes. The system has improved immensely since February. So for those who tried to file in like March and just got tired and walked away, try filing now. It's much better. The platform has improved. Tax questions we'll have to do another time. Perhaps I'll do another presentation. But I'll bring these questions back to the chair.
Do you have another meeting straight from this?
About this? Do I? I have to follow up with the staff to find out what I got to do next, and then we have NEC all afternoon. Are you going to come to NEC? We could have a conversation during that if you want to do that this afternoon.
I'll stay.
Okay. All right, guys. Goodbye, everybody. We'll talk taxes at another time.
Thank you for the meeting.